Good evening, everyone. My name is Abhishek Jain, and I'm pleased to invite you all to the ninth episode of the KYO series, or the Know Your Option series post 12th grade by Planting. In this session, we will be covering a Bachelor of Management Studies, or a BMS degree. Today, we are very fortunate to have with us Pancham Gupta, a graduate of the 2020 batch from Shaheed Sukhdev College of Business Studies, affiliated to Delhi University, with a Bachelor of Management Studies degree. He's the co-founder at Project Brava and is also working as an analyst at Bain and Company. In this session, Pancham will be speaking in detail on pursuing a BMS degree, what it entails, and the various opportunities and career options that it opens up upon completion. I would now like to hand it over to Pancham to begin this session.
Hi, thank you, Abhishek. Thank you for that introduction. It's great to be connecting with a platform that's helping a lot of young people out here make informed decisions about their careers. And to think of it, it's really funny that I use the phrase young people when most of the intended audience is probably just a couple years younger than I am. Right. So just to cover all the bases here, my name is Pancham Gupta, and I graduated from the Shaheed Sukhdev College of Business Studies last year. I majored in finance as a part of my bachelor's degree in management studies, and I'm currently working as an analyst with Bain and Company's private equity group. Prior to working with Bain, I have interned at Caston Corporate Advisory Services as a deal advisory intern, and I've also previously worked with EY as a transaction tax intern. Right? So a little disclaimer here, a lot of what I'd be sharing today as a part of this session, a lot of that would be drawn from my own experiences with BMS, my own experiences with CBS, right? And naturally, there might be an inclination for me to be a little biased, but I'm going to try and remain as unbiased as possible. So before we begin, a brief structure of what is about to follow. I'd start off with a brief structure on what BMS is all about, what you could expect to learn out of it, and where you could expect to stand once you're done with the course. Second, the eligibility and the selection process for BMS. Third, the perspectives on BMS at SSCBS. And this is the point where I'd be speaking a lot from my experiences. And we'd end up with future prospects, as in where you could expect to go after CBS, where you could expect to go after this course. And then maybe we could open the house for some Q&A, and I could try and address your questions to the best of my ability. Right. So starting off with what BMS is. So no surprises here. It's a bachelor's degree in management studies. And it's one of the few courses in the University of Delhi for which the class 12 examinations do not suffice as an admission criteria. There is also an entrance test that you have to give, and a little more on the entrance test towards the later part of the session. So coming on to what kind of subjects you would be studying as a part of BMS. So BMS as a degree provides you a basic introduction. It provides you a platform where you could learn about the different facets of management. So that includes business strategy, that includes the fundamentals of management, and that also includes things like financial management, human resources management, as well as marketing management. And all of this would be supplemented by quantitative tools that you use for various types of analysis. So think about optimization techniques, think about statistics, econometrics, and other analytical software. All of that is neatly packaged into one course called BMS, right? As a part of the course, in the first 2 years, you'd be exposed to a broad managerial field, right? So the objective here is to cover a lot of bases with respect to the managerial functions. So as a part of it, you'd be exposed to basic statistics, you'd be exposed to optimization, some optimization techniques. You'd also learn about the different functions of management, like I mentioned before, right? Followed by, and this would be followed by a third year of specialization, where you would choose a discipline-specific elective, right? And these disciplinary specific electives include finance, HR, marketing, and global business operations. In the third year of your studies, you would be expected to choose 2 subjects every semester out of this discipline-specific elective. And this is one place that where you could expect to polish your knowledge in that particular field in an area of your specialization. Speaking about me, like I told, I majored in finance. That is, I chose finance as my discipline-specific elective in my third year. And that was also the case for about 70% of my batch, right? A lot of people opted and continue to opt for finance at SSCBS, right? So now that I've given you a basic gist of what BMS entails, what kind of course curriculum you're dealing with here. I think an important part to mention here is that it's not a very theoretical course. As in, you wouldn't be expected to cram thick books and to kind of just write all of them down in your examinations. The course structure also has a very practical bent to it, right? This practical bent not only includes, say, for example, you might be doing business evaluations, you might be solving questions for a statistics examination. It also includes the way of teaching this particular course, right? So a lot of what you'd be learning has to be substantiated with things like research papers, with paper presentations, with reports, with class activities, and all of that. And that is something that ensures that you have a holistic learning as a part of your curriculum, and you're not just restricted to what you're studying in your books. Right? If I'm being very honest, a lot of my learning that did not just happen from the classroom, from the course content itself, but also happened with a lot of these research papers, these term papers that we've written, right? So on average, we have about 4 subjects every semester, and every semester we've done at least 2 projects, 2 research papers, all through the 6 semesters, right? That's the kind of thing that that's the kind of thing that this degree exposes you to. Right. And keeping all of this in mind, BMS is considered not an academic degree, say how you'd consider maybe an economics degree or a BCom honors degree. It's considered more of a professional degree, right? Which makes you job ready, which makes you ready for the job market, right? So, considering all of this, the question comes, who is this degree suitable for? Who should be opting for a degree like this? Right? And the answer, to be honest, is very simple, right? You read the curriculum of the course, you read the different curriculums. Say you compare BCom honors, you compare economic honors, you compare, say, a BMS, right? You read through the structure, you see what that degree is all about. And if this course content which I just talked to you about, if this kind of structure is something that interests you, right, then BMS is a good option for you, right? And see, I'll be very honest with you. At your age, at say 17 or 18, it's way too early to decide where you want to make your career in, right? And because of that, I wouldn't say that you have to be 100% sure that it's management that you want to do as a part of your life further, right? So, basis that, if the course curriculum is something that interests you, BMS can be a good option for you. Some colleges that offer BMS include the Shaheed Sukhdev College of Business Studies, or CBS, as we call it fondly. There's also Keshav Mahavidyalaya, Deen Dayal Upadhyay College, and Shri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce. Right, and I think what might be good here would be to mention what were my own personal motivations in opting for this degree. Right, so as a part of my class 12 studies, I was a commerce student, and I was exposed to the managerial discipline in some depth, right? You have that kind of structure in your class 12 examinations, and reading that, I was drawn to the discipline, right? When we read about that in our books, when I spoke to the people around me, I realized that this is something that I could see myself doing in the future. This is something that personally interests me, right? And therefore, I was very keen on pursuing this. Further, I really liked the course structure. I really liked the fact that there was such a high focus on the practical aspects of things and not just the theoretical parts, right? And if I'm being honest with you, towards the end of class 12, BMS was kind of BMS, and more specifically BMS at Shaheed Sukhdev College of Business Studies, that had become somewhat of a dream proposition for me, right? As a part of my admission process, I had applied to various places, right? So on the day of my admission at CBS, I had a secured seat at Hansraj College for the BCom honors program. I also had a secured seat at IIM Indore for their integrated program in management, which would have given me a BB and an MBA degree, right? But as I stood there and I had that CBS offer letter in my hand, I had the CBS offer in my hand. That was perhaps one of the easiest decisions that I've made so far. Like, I did not really have to think a lot that, oh, should I be thinking of Hansraj now? Should I be thinking of IIM Indore now? I knew that CBS was the right choice for me. And if I were to think of it, if I were to look at it retrospectively, now about 4 years it's been, right? There is not a moment of regret that I have with respect to that decision of mine. That's been perhaps one of the best decisions that I've ever taken yet. Now, granted, I do not know how my life would have turned out had I been to any of those other places. But considering where I am right now, I think I'm in a pretty good spot. All right. Coming over to the eligibility criteria for what you might need for a BMS, right? The eligibility criteria is pretty basic, right? So you need a minimum of 60% as a part of your best four score, right? And what's essential here is that mathematics and English have to be included as a part of that best four, right? So you need to have studied math and English as a part of your class 11, class 12 curriculum, right? The good thing here is that this course is not just restricted to, say, commerce students. People from all streams can apply. So science students can apply, commerce students can apply, art students can apply, right? And there's this kind of conception that being somebody from, say, a science background, or being somebody from, say, an arts background, they might face problems at CBS. They might not be able to cope. uh, I think you can take my word for it that you can rest assured that you wouldn't have that problem, right? A lot of people in the college come from science background, from art background, right? And granted, they do face a little bit of trouble with the initial subjects, say accounting or economics, but they do catch up really well because of the entire atmosphere in the college, because of the collaborative nature of the faculty, of the students, right? So you can rest assured with that, even if you're a science student or an art student, if you're interested in learning, a BMS can happen really well for you, right? So apart from the best four criteria, there is also an entrance examination called the DU-JAT. Now, as a part of the DU-JAT, you have four sections in that examination. So you have your quantitative aptitude, which basically deals with mathematics. You have your logical reasoning, data interpretation. You have verbal ability, and you have general and or business awareness, right? So it's a 100 question paper, right? 100 questions spread over 2 hours, and you have a good mix of questions from all of these four sections. Now, up till recently, and including my batch as well, we had 25 questions each from each of these sections. But things kind of changed last year. So the DUJAT examination for 2020, things changed a little there. And the paper had slightly more questions for quant, and the number of questions for general awareness, business awareness, that went down quite a bit, right? That was something that was unexpected for everybody, right? But I think the candidates were able to cope with it, and I think it turned out fine in that case. So considering that we have both the entrance examination as well as the class 12 score, here's how they are weighted to give you a score, to give you a rank for your admissions. Your admission would be based on 65% weightage would be given to your entrance scores, and 35% weightage would be given to your board score, your class 12 result. Basis that, the rank lists are published out, and before that process, you're asked to fill out your preferences with respect to the colleges, with respect to the courses, and basis that, the allotments are made on the basis of the ranks. I think this might be a good point for me to add in a couple of prep tips for the examination, because I remember when I started prep, I really had little idea about what kind of prep that I need to be doing. Right, there weren't a lot of people in my circle who had done a Bachelor of Management Studies, so my information sources were a little capped at that point. But considering from a preparation perspective, you can easily pick up any kind of prep books available. There's a lot of prep material available for the BMS examination. For quantitative aptitude, things really rely a lot on your basic aptitude. So what you've learned up till class 10, right? So that includes your time, speed, distance based questions. That includes your arithmetic questions and things like that, right? And there is also a segment on higher mathematics. That's basically some parts from your class 11, class 12 mathematics, right? For logical reasoning and data interpretation, you have things like puzzles, you have like data interpretation, data sets where you are given a lot of information. You're supposed to derive inferences out of that. You could have ordering questions, and that's kind of what is standard for logical reasoning, right? And you can easily access a lot of these data sets from a lot of free sources, from a lot of paid sources. Like, a lot of publishers are printing out these books. You could also join a number of coachings. There are a lot of institutes which are available, and in fact, I joined a particular institute as well. Their material pretty much sufficed as to what I needed for my preparation. And yeah, right. And one thing that I'd like to really highlight here is that from any preparation perspective, and this is something that I've told my juniors and my juniors who were preparing for, say, B school admissions as well, that you need to be consistent with your preparation. Your preparation needs to be consistent. It needs to be goal oriented, and it needs to be regularly tested at intervals. right? So you can't just say that, fine, I'll just review all the books, I'll do all the questions in my study material, and I'll just directly go and give the examination. You have to give mock tests at regular intervals to see where you're at, to see what your weak points are, and to see how you can go on to strengthen them, right? For context, I think I gave over 20 or 20, 25 odd mocks as a part of my JAT examination preparation, right? And all of that did turn out well for me. I scored an All India rank 18 during the examination, right? The key again remains consistency, right? For a lot of students, what ends up happening is that the board results come out before the actual exam, before the DUJAT examination, right? So if people say that they've scored above, say, a 97, 96.5, 98, right, a lot of people drop out of their JAT preparation thinking that they'll just go join in another college, right, another course, right? But here's the thing: if you're interested in the course, if you feel that BMS is your calling, that is the point that you need to be strong. That is the point where you need to be consistent with your preparation, and that is the point where you can, jump ahead. So every year, I think somewhere around a ballpark of 20,000 students appear for this examination, and we have about 200 seats for BMS at SSCBS and about 100 seats for BBFIA. That's basically a course related to BMS with a higher inclination towards finance, right? So that basically covers what the examination is all about and what kind of prep you might be looking at that. An additional thing that I forgot to add before that, the awareness bit, that's not just general awareness, which you might find as a part of, say, the IPU examinations. That also has a higher inclination towards business awareness and recent business news, right? More focus on recent events than, say, general awareness related to, say, past histories of kings of India or things like that. Great. So now that we've got this part covered, I think we could move towards my perspective for pursuing a BMS at SSCBS. Right. So I'll just call it CBS because that's what we call it fondly. College of Business Studies. That was what the name of the college was previously, before it was changed to Shaheed Sukhdev College of Business Studies. Now, CBS is perhaps one of the finest institutions in the University of Delhi and the country as well, right? And the fact that we are in a really good position. What makes it even more impressive is that the college is only a little over 30 years old, right? And in that limited amount of time, we've established a major presence, and the CBS alums are represented in all major spheres, like be it corporates, be it consulting firms, investment banking, right? Be it entrepreneurship. You'd find CBS alums almost everywhere, right? And that kind of speaks volumes about what kind of students this college has been churning out, right? And my time at CBS, and I can say this without a hint of exaggeration, my time at CBS has been life changing, right? If I look at myself 4 years back when I entered college and I see myself right now, there's been a very evident change that I've seen in myself, and that change has been for the better, right? And I'll try and break it down to what I see what CBS offers you as a part of its BMS experience, right? To give you a better picture of what you might have. The first thing is the faculty, right? At CBS, you'd be taught by the finest faculty in the University of Delhi in the country, right? And these are teachers who are not just concerned with completing their preparation material. These teachers are involved in your journey, right? These teachers consider your success as their success. Right? These are the teachers who are ready to help you with whatever you might need, right? They are ready to help you to the best of their capabilities, be it your college curriculum, be it your competitive examination, your interviews preparation, be it guidance regarding your career and your life in general. The teachers are ready for this at all times. Like, so when I was prepping for my MBA admissions, I was in touch with a lot of my teachers from college, right? I remember I was sitting around brainstorming on my questions, brainstorming on the various concepts that I had covered as a part of my preparation, right? And the fact that I made it to the finest institutions, finest B schools in the country, that fact can also be attributed to the efforts that my teachers put in with me, right? Further, the teachers are also very supportive of the society culture in the college as well. And so a lot of the societies are held by teachers, right? teachers act as faculty advisors there, and they're always ready to give their inputs there to make sure that whatever you're doing is a part of a society that is being done properly, and they're always there. That's the perhaps the best part, right? The second thing is the peer group. Right? So as a part of CBS, you'd be studying with perhaps the finest top-notch students all across the country, right? These are very smart people who've worked really hard to come where they are, right? So accordingly, these people are highly motivated, and they have a sense of purpose for a lot of things that they're doing. And what having a peer group like this does for you is that it forces you to push yourself. Like when you see 200 people around you working all the time, you see them, taking initiatives to, build their careers, to, get better at things. You're naturally driven to, do it yourself. And I think that's one thing that's pretty good here. The second thing is, like I mentioned about the learning previously as well, there's a limit to what you can learn in the classroom. A lot of what happens outside the classroom as well, right? So if I have to recall this particular thing, so as a part of my placement preparation for Bain and Company, we had some rounds called a case interview round and a guesstimate round. And what we basically did was, me and a couple of my friends, we were working as a part of a study group, and we were constantly working on cases, guesstimates, and we were doing all of this together. At that point, we weren't competitors who were competing for a job, right? We were people who were working together towards a common objective, which was to get into company, right? And it wasn't just restricted to me and some of my friends. There were study groups like these all over the college. Like, people had organized themselves into small groups, and these groups are very flexible, right? People were constantly engaging with other groups and trying to gain knowledge to the best possible extent that they could, right? The Another thing that's good here is that the batch size is pretty small. So like I mentioned, there's only about 200 odd seats at CBS for BMS. What that does is that certainly fosters a better sense of community, right? You know a lot of people, you end up speaking to a lot of people, right? And that kind of creates an atmosphere of collaboration. That is something that definitely helps you in the future as well, right? The third thing would be the societies. So the society culture at CBS is very vibrant, right? There are societies running for almost about everything. Students are very engaged with their societies, and people are working almost as hard as society at the societies as they're working for their college curriculum. So at the peak of my college life, I was a part of Enactus. That's the social entrepreneurship cell of our college. Right, there was a time that I was spending more time working with Enactus than I was spending on my actual college academics. Right, and I can honestly say that that engagement has made me the person that I am today as well. Right, so as a part of Enactus, I've pretty much done everything. So so apart from the corporate exposure that I got as a part of my internships, my work within Actors took me to the remote parts of the country. We were working with villages, we were working in slums, we were building business models for communities, and we were devising solutions to uplift those communities. And that was the time where I could see my learning in action, right? And even I covered a lot of things before I could formally learn them in the classroom. So consider this, as a part of my first year at Enactus at CBS, I was already making brainstorming marketing strategies with my teammates for a village in Haryana, right? We ended up covering marketing management in the third semester, right? So we were already working on that. We were already working on optimizations before they were formally introduced to us as a part of our curriculum. We were already working for financial management, financial recording for our business units, for our centers that we were running in different villages, right? So that is something that Enactus gave me, and that is something which a lot of societies in the college give you. The societies also participate in a lot of competitions, right? And the societies have represented the college at various global platforms, and this has really picked up over the years, and this is something that we've really got going for us right now, right? And supporting all of these three pillars, the societies, the peer group, and the faculty, is the fact that we have an amazing campus, right? The new campus that's based out of Rohini, that was inaugurated in 2017. That's about the time that my batch joined, right? So we were the first batch to spend our entire time at that college. It's a beautiful, well-made campus. It has all the things that you could ask for, right? And for a lot of for this the attendees who might be outstationed, the college also has hostel facilities available. There are also PGs available around the college. So that part is pretty sorted out as well. So now that we've covered my perspectives at CBS, right? I think we can probably move on to what the future prospects might look like. And I think that's one area where a lot of you might be interested. A lot of you might have joined the session for this exact purpose only, right? So I'll be very honest here. Your future prospects are one, a function of both your degree and your college, right? So it's not just that you can just join a college and the college tag will get you places. It's also about the degree that you've done. And even this combination, the combination for degree and college, there's only so far that this combination will take you. What ultimately matters in the long run is the people that you've connected with, is your skills, and the ultimate value that you can add to the different places that you might be interested in joining, right? As a part of CBS, you get to see both of them. You get to see all of this in action, right? So future prospects can probably be summed up into two areas. That could be further education, that could be with respect to the jobs. So from a further education perspective, it wouldn't be any surprise to say that a lot of people end up going for their MBAs right after their college, right after their undergrad studies, right? And it's a pretty good thing that our uh, last year there were about 6 students who got offers from IIM Ahmedabad. There were 6 students who got offers from IIM Calcutta, and there were many more students who got offers from IIM Lucknow, IIM Kozhikode, IIM Indore, right, and other B schools around the country as well, right? People are also going, and people are not just opting for management degrees here, right? People are also opting for careers in law. People are also opting for career in for education in economics from, say, the Delhi School of Economics. And the further education bit is not just restricted to the country as well. There are a lot of people who are applying in top foreign universities like the London School of Economics, the London Business School, and people are going for their masters in management, their masters in finance, things like that. So from a further education perspective, CBS gives you a good platform to build your skill set, build your resume, build your profile, that you come off as a desirable candidate for all of these spaces. Coming over to the job bit, there are a lot of jobs that come on campus, right? So we see recruitments from a lot of fields. We see consulting recruitments, we see finance recruitments, banking recruitments. There are also marketing recruitments, HR recruitments, and for my batch for the year 2019-20, we saw an average of about 7.03 lakhs per annum as our CTC, right? And I think an aggregate job offer of upwards of 12 CR in terms of the gross packages which were provided, right? And I chose to sit for Bain and Company, and I was selected by Bain and Company among a lot of my classmates as well, right? So Bain and Company is one of the prominent recruiters that we have on campus. And to be honest, I spent like 6 months at the company now, and it's a great place to be, right? You meet with a lot of people are really collaborative, right? And you see a lot of representation from Malayalams in these companies as well. So it's not like you're just walking into an unknown atmosphere. So to name a few prominent recruiters that we have on campus, we have Bain and Company, we have McKinsey, we have BCG, we see recruitments from EY, we see recruitments from Deloitte, KPMG, Goldman Sachs, DE Shaw, we have Verity, right? FTI Consulting, a lot of big names, a lot of good profiles for you to start off your careers with, and to build them further. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers what I had in mind with respect to the BMS degree, right? I think we can probably open the forum for questions now. I'd love to take a few questions, see if I can help you with any doubts that you might have, any particular area of conflict which you might be facing right now.
Thanks a lot for that, Pancham. I think that was a very, very detailed and informative session. So thanks for running us through what exactly this degree entails and also a bit about the university itself. I think to start off with the Q&A session, the first question that I want to ask you is actually with respect to distinguishing a BMS degree from, let's say, the other degrees like a BBA or a BBA FIA, and how exactly should a student choose between these degrees when they might just have a general interest in, let's say, business, and they're also probably looking for, let's say, a consulting role in the future?
That's a great question, Abhishek. And in fact, that was one question that plagued me in the beginning as well. right? So from a management degree perspective, we have broadly two courses available in the university. We have a Bachelor of Management Studies, and we have the BBFIA, which was previously known as BFIA, right? So the core differences between BMS and BFIA is that BFI is a little more inclined towards finance. So you don't get the choice between say marketing and HR as a part of your BBFIA degree. Your courses are more inclined towards finance. You see a couple extra courses like income tax and others, right? But a lot of what you are covering as a part of the general curriculum remains the same between BMS and BFI. I think if I were to compare my subject selection with say my friends who did their BFIA, I think at most we had like two or three courses that differed across all 3 years, right? And that was about it. So in the beginning, also I had an interest towards finance, but I did not want to restrict myself, considering that I might have a change of heart 2 years down the line, 1 year down the line. I wanted to leave that option open in my hand. That if I want to pursue something, say non-finance, I can do that. Right. That was the reason that I opted for BMS in the first place instead of a BBFIA, and that was why BMS was on the higher priority for me. Considering consulting roles in general, right? Your degree plays your the course content plays a lesser part as a part of your consulting recruitments, right? Consulting roles require a certain degree of skill, they require a certain degree of inclination, right? And that skill set is not just restricted to management students, right? Consulting firms recruit from all over the university. You have them picking up BCom honor students, economic honor students, BMS students, right? From other universities, a lot of engineers get recruited into these roles as well, right? So from a long-term perspective, from a consulting perspective, you don't need to be that worried about your bachelor's degree. But what you do need to worry about, what you do need to be on the lookout for, is to see where these firms are recruiting from. So for a lot of these firms, the recruitment activity that happens is done on an on-campus basis, right? There are obviously opportunities for off-campus recruiting as well, but they are a little limited in number. Your on-campus recruitments provide you a good foot in the door, right? And they provide you a better platform to go into that. So for context, I was placed at Bain and Company in the first month of my third year, right? So after being placed in August, I had the rest of the time to, I had 1 year to, further build my skills, do things that interest me and so on, right? So yeah, that's the thing.
I think that's a very fair answer. Thanks a lot for that, Pancham. And with this, I think I probably come to my last question. So my second question is basically with respect to a student in 12th grade, let's say who's probably coming from a science background, who's probably doing science with biology, who has absolutely no background in either finance or business studies. How do you think they could ascertain that a BMS might actually be the right degree for them?
Yeah, I get that. I get that, right? Right. So one of my closest friends from college, he was from a science background. That guy gave JE and everything, right? But he chose BMS at the end. So again, the thing is that it has to come at the course content that a particular degree is offering you at that point of time, right? It's fine that you do not have a finance background. It's fine that you do not have a management background. But once you read the curriculum, once you read what the different courses are offering you, and if you see that is something that interests you, I think this degree can be a good choice for you, right? And say I get it that it's not possible that you can get all the information that you need from just reading the syllabus of the college. And here's where the networking bit comes into play. You reach out to as many people as you can. You reach out to people in your own field. You reach out to people in the field that you're interested in going in, right? You talk to them about what their lives are looking like, what their career goals are looking like, what their career performance is looking like, what their educational background is looking like, and basis that you make your decision. So how the things have changed recently, it's like it's not just you can just do a degree, you'd be guaranteed a job once you get out of college. A good idea here could be that you kind of backtrack from where you want to be in the future. Say for example, if you want to do say an investment banking role, right off the top of my head, you can backtrack from there to see where these major what skills these investment banks are looking for. Right, say they're looking for financial modeling skills, they're looking for somebody with a core competence in valuations and modeling. Then you see where these companies are recruiting from, and then you see what's your best path to to those campuses. See, this is something that I've maintained for quite some time, and this has served me well. That your education, right? So a bachelor's degree in management studies, an MBA, or or any degree for that matter, a degree in itself cannot be an end, right? So I'm sure that a lot of the audience know what the difference between a means and an end are, right? Your education degrees shouldn't be your end, at least in my opinion. They are a means towards your end, right? So if somebody is looking at a career in investment banking and they see that going to say an IIM Ahmedabad might help them get into that investment banking company, IIM Ahmedabad is not an end for them. It's a means towards reaching that end, which is the investment banking role. Right. So I think backtracking from something like that might work, where you're still confused after reading the course curriculum.
All right, thanks for that, Pancham. And I think with that, I come to the end of both the Q&A session and also the session itself. So I would just like to take this opportunity on behalf of Team Plant to thank you for that wonderful and very informative session. I'm sure that that's going to be very useful for students in the future who are struggling with making these decisions. So thanks a lot for joining us for today.
Thank you so much for having me, Abhishek. It's always a great thing to, help out somebody. So at this initial stage, you need all the mentorship, all the guidance that you can get. Right. And I've been really fortunate with it from in terms of teachers, in terms of college seniors who've helped me across junctures like these, who've helped me where I've been troubled by options, troubled by choices. Right. And a lot of people don't have this kind of support. So anything that I could offer this way, I'm really happy that I could do
Yep.
that with the help of the session.
Thanks a lot, Pancham. Thanks once again.